Welcome to another episode of Paddle Talk. I am Billy Teeters. I am joined by Damian Bowers, our friends John Sorg, Ricky Thorpe, and Christian Acevedo from Puerto Rico. Real quick, an ad read from SM Engineering. SM Engineering, you can design, build, and test. Our friend Sam McCray getting those now former record holders, right? He is the tuner for Kyle Farwick, Small Block Mafia. He does flowed fuel systems, dyno testing, fuel management, tune-ups, consulting, race pack and data acquisition, wiring, and mechanical services. That is SM Engineering. Design, build, test. Sam McCray will get you right. You can hit him up at promodsam@gmail.com. Phone number 740-361-0969. That's SM Engineering. Design, build, and test. SMEngineeringLLC.com. Welcome, you cheating sandbaggers, to another episode of Paddle Talk. Real quick, before we start the show, we do have three new host guests on the panel with us today. Damian, turn that little vibrator off.
Huh?
Whatever just went off, turn it off.
My phone buzzed. Got notifications.
Oh, okay. How dare you?
How to turn them off?
It's all good. Real quick, you're gonna have John Sorg introduce himself to everybody. Go ahead, John.
Hi, I'm John Sorg. I've been racing for 30 years, been around the sport all my life, and been anywhere from Maine to California when I could.
All right. Good introduction from John. Ricky Thorpe, go ahead and introduce yourself to the people.
My name is Rick Thorpe. I'm out of Michigan. Been racing at the same home track as John Sorg there my whole life, and have ventured out as far as California, Arizona. I'm the ATV guy of the bunch.
the notorious ATV guy that they like to give shit to sometimes for being the ATV guy.
That's right.
Christian Acevedo, please introduce yourself.
Well, my name is Christian Acevedo, and I'm the guy from Puerto Rico representing the sand and stuff down there.
Christian has been in the sport for basically as long as he can remember. He's the youngest member of WSDN. How old are you, Christian?
22.
22, real young, and got a purpose to help us out here, which is really cool. He's actually been with us since he was like 17, something like that. Helped us out in
18, somewhere like that. It's been a minute.
Yeah, he helped us out in Newtown whenever they did their Puerto Rico versus USA race, and he covered the race whenever the Rose from Michigan and Russ Bailey from Missouri, Jimmy DePass from California, and Dave Huffman from California, when they all went to Puerto Rico for their race. He covered that for us. Ricky, very avid in the ATV scene, very well known in the ATV scene. As he's just said, that ATV guy, whenever people talk about him at his home track. And then John Sorg, kind of a legend in the sport, kind of underappreciated legend in our sport. So shout out to John Sorg. And then, of course, we always have our lovely Damian Bowers. Look at that precious face. Look at it.
I think I figured it out.
All right, we're gonna start our show here with the quick recap of Lake Elsinore SoCal Sand Drag Association race this weekend. And let me just get to my day one's winners list here. We have they did a Friday Pro Gambler and a 395 index. They usually do 2 qualifying passes for top limiter, top alcohol, pro mod, and A fuel. But due to track conditions, they couldn't get it done. So Friday Pro Gambler, your winner was Derek. I'm going to say this wrong. Partita. And your second place winner was Jeff Adamson. And in 395 index, your first place winner was Bob Cambridge. And second place was Tim Gilmore. Who's who here? Okay, Bob Cambridge has the cool little blue V8 buggy, which looks sweet. All of these results are on our Facebook page. You can go and take a look at those at any time. Saturday's winners, they ran Sport 1, Sport 2 for the cars, which are just bracket classes, and then Motorcycle Sport 1, Motorcycle Sport 2, more bracket classes, excuse me. Sport 1, your first place winner was Tim Gilmore. Second place winner was Chris Wells. Shout out Chris Wells, supporter of WSDN, Wells Racing. Shout out. Sport 2 winner was Kyle Stewart. Second place was Tim Gilmore. Look at Tim almost doubling up there. And then motorcycle Sport 1 winner, Dominic Pena. This is on a tear lately. Second place, Brad Olson on the Woolly Mammoth, as they call it. And motorcycle Sport 2, look at that, Maddox Pena. What do you got that? Ricky, what do you got to say about those Maddox boys tearing it up?
Let me point out one thing since we're talking about ATVs just there for a second. The Pena family out of California, they're out of the Bakersfield area. I've raced with them a few times. I raced with them twice out there in Bakersfield and then also Dome Valley. We're talking multiple generations. The grandma, Lisi, she rides. She has a bike called the She-Hulk. That's one of my favorites. I'm a sucker for a good theme. And though they have all really nice, bikes have, really nice themes, really nice look, and they're just one after another winners coming out of that family right now. So, I mean, I can't even, I think, what is there, like 4 grandchildren right now running from the juniors all the way up? I know
there's 3 or 4. I know there's at least 2
man.
boys and a girl in there.
Jaden, Pena, I remember when he was real tiny, the little
Okay, so
kid with
there's
the
3.
red mohawk, and he's worked his way up now, and now I can't even keep up. They're just winning and riding really well. I follow that family. They're a great group of people.
Well, they definitely are winning. Dominic getting the win in motorcycle Sport 1. Maddox getting the win in motorcycle Sport 2. Second place in motorcycle Sport 2, Chris Schmidt. Quick little take. I don't know why they call it motorcycle. There's not a single motorcycle that runs in those classes. They might as well just call them ATVs.
Used to be a lot.
Used to be a lot, but there's no motorcycles out there anymore. But then they had 2 other kind of special classes on Saturday out in Lake Elsinore. They ran a Larry Minor Motorsports Shootout where it was just Larry Minor Jeeps. So it could have been anywhere from the Pro Mod Jeeps to like the Juinor Jeeps. They're just all in a bracket class. And your first place winner was Charlie Johnson, which is really cool because after his incident and him coming back strong and winning that class, it's really good to see him back out there. If you know what happened, we'll save it for a different day. But if you know what happened, that's huge. Second place, I'm going to say this wrong too. Ray Wakeham. I'm just going to say how I see it. Ray Wakeham. Wakeham. Who knows? That's pretty cool. And then they did a Dirty Juinor Shootout, which is Jeeps, just anything for the dunes. If like Caleb said last week, if you can ride it, if you take it on a dune ride for an hour, it counts for the class. If you can't, then no. And then Chachi and somebody else had the final say in that. And then it looks like your first place winner was Justin Adamson, and your second place winner was Tim Gilmore. I'm not surprised that finished at all. What does it say? Best reaction time was Jeff Adamson with a 0.010 reaction time. And closest to the dial-in was Justin Adamson, your class winner. He ran a 4.16 with a 0 on a 4.15 dial-in. So cool information there. And then your Saturday Pro Gambler winner was Wes Johnson and Jeff Adamson. Wes Johnson getting first, Jeff Adamson getting second. So Adamson's names pop up a lot, rightfully so, because they do a lot of winning. So
Get them out here.
this is kind of like this is the part where we really get to conversating about what happened in Lake Elsinore over the weekend. Saturday's classes, I'll start from the bottom to the top. Oh, the kids aren't the bottom, but they're the bottom of this list that I'm reading. And Pee Wee's first place was Seth Gucking, and second place was Nathan Gilmore. Junior dragster was Berkston Rubishaw. I hope I said that right. Second place, Aubrey Foshi. Motorcycle Pro 2, first place, Craig Durning. Oh, okay. Motorcycle Pro 2, which is their ATV classes. Except, pro means pro light. Motorcycle Pro 2, Craig Durning first. Marcus Rydell second. Motorcycle Pro 1, Brad Olson first. Tyler Haranahan second. I know those names. Pro 3, Your first place winner, Chris Wells. Shout out to Wells Racing. Shout out Sonny. Pro 3 second place, Justin Adamson. Pro 2 first place, Jeff Adamson. Pro 2 second place, Justin Adamson again. Pro 1 first place, Daniel West. Second place, Bill Lefevre. God, I always say it wrong. Shout out to Racing Swag. All right, okay. Now we're in our heads up classes for Lake Elsinore. And this is how they finish. A Fuel, first place, Art Cronin. Second place, Sally Rasmussen. Looked like a couple Volkswagens. I know there was one K24 Honda in that class. And I don't remember right off the top of my head who else was in the class. My apologies. Pro Mod Unlimited. First place was Chris Miner in the Larry Miner Motorsports. Pro Mod Jeep. And then second place winner was Nick Shultzman. Some weird stuff on that pass. Nick didn't get a time or whatever, and Chris got the win, so it is what it is. Top eliminator, and it came down to, it was a Fred versus Barney, Fred Flintstone versus Barney Rubble final here. Jim Nafziger, aka Barney, getting the win over Terry Crawford, aka Fred. And Terry Crawford was my top eliminator pick for those that remember last week. So I was this close. Terry, why didn't you get it? Come on the show, Terry. We want you on the show, by the way. Top alcohol final. First place, Jim Hammond. Second place, Nick Shultzman. Right off the bat, I know people want to go straight to talking about Nick Shultzman's record, which is huge. A 264 with a 5, which beats the last record by a 10th. It's insane. Jim Hammond running a 240 with a 2, fastest pass in his career. That's awesome. John, do you have any thoughts?
That's flying. 240 with a 2?
Yeah.
I mean, come on. Who wouldn't want to drive that thing?
Man, I don't think I could. I think my brains would be out the back of the helmet by the time I took off.
Hey, I'm willing to give it a shot.
Damian, touch a little bit on Nick Shultzman's new record, please.
Well, 264 with a 5, that's gonna, and he actually backed it up earlier in the weekend with the 265 run.
Mm-hmm.
That's going to put him at the top of the top fuel altered as well on the ET side, but we never had a mile per hour for that because of being such an old record. So he's going to have both the ends of the top fuel record, it appears, but also the top alcohol altered. And before the show, someone had mentioned asking that whether or not that's anyone's going to go faster than that with a front engine car. Well, currently there is one person that has been faster, and let's see if I can find that again. And that was Jimmy Cass.
Oh, really?
264 with a 4.
Oh.
AA Pro modified. And Derek Balkunas has the mile per hour record for that at 133.99.
Definitely not who I thought it was. That's crazy. I thought it was somebody in Dubai. I'm not even gonna lie.
Nope, Dubai just barely a little bit slower in the A 4-wheel drive with a 267 with a 2.
That's insane. That's insane.
Yeah, and that's with a truck. That's with a full body car.
Ricky, do you want to touch up on Jim's 240 with a 2 and Nick Schultzman's 264?
Real quick, being from Michigan, Jim has the old full throttle car. That's Ted Laronis's old car that was purple. It was called Full Throttle, and it was a, big Brad Anderson car. And I'm going to tell you right, whatever Jim and his people have done to that thing to make it work, it works flawlessly. I know there's not a lot of top alcohol cars out there these days. But if I were to think back of all the fast top alcohol cars that I've seen, I mean, Jim Hammond's April's Dream is just that thing. It's a pleasure. It's one of those cars that when it runs, you're always at the fence watching because it works so well. 240 with a 2 is incredible. Absolutely flying. I really wish Gary Mink would come out and just square off with him one more time for a good old time's sake, because Gary's car is so fast. I believe he's been like a 40 or a 41 as well. And then real quick, Nick Shultzman, it's pretty cool because a lot of people have followed his journey, right? The car's been giving him a fit. It's been not going straight. They banged the body up. They've been having a hard time getting that front engine car down the track. And I remember seeing a lot of those over the years growing up, and none of them ran in the 260s. I'll tell you that. That's flying. I think that Kyle and him can keep squaring off back and forth. I think Kyle's car is capable of going 60s. Man, but a 264 is flying.
It really is. And you were just about to say something about Kyle and him squaring off. That is a matchup that we won't be able to see in person, but we will be able to see on the World Sand Drag News live stream come March. It's going to be crazy whenever Farwick and Trices make the trip out there. And I think there might be even more people going. That's like a
Real
Damian
quick.
thing. Okay,
Real
Ricky.
I was just down in Indiana last weekend, and I seen Dave Trice and a couple of them guys that are going out there, and I know that Dave and Cody are really excited to see how their car runs out there, and I'm sure Farwick and their whole crew is ready to come out there, and I think they'll all run very well.
For sure. Touch on Kyle Farwick. Shout out SM Engineering. He's got Sam McCray tuning that thing, and I think Sam's probably going to end up making the trip if I'm not mistaken. He usually always does, so that's going to be really, really, really fun for them. Damian, you got one more thing?
Mentioning on back with what Ricky was mentioning with Gary Mink and the top alcohol, he is currently the top alcohol record holder at 239.4. So
he's actually the only top alcohol to run a 30.
Jim is less than 1/100th away from topping Gary Mink's time.
Yeah, Gary Mink's actually fastest pass ever in top alcohol is at 236. Let's not forget that. And
just backed up.
Right, he just never could back it up. But that 239 is the record, and I know Caleb said something about that last week, and he mentioned it again to me on the phone earlier. Jim's goal is to get a 30 out of that car, and I think it's coming, man. It's coming. I don't know when, but
you got to keep inching towards it.
You feel it. It's right there.
Edge, but you got to have a weekend like this past weekend, I think, to get. I don't think in March we're going to see quite the records that we've seen this past weekend, because as you could see on the Friday night stream, that track was a flooded mess.
It really was.
And that just adds to the tackiness of that kind of track. It's the same way that a lot of tracks around here, other than Gravel-Rama, that track's just an enigma. But yeah, I don't think we'll see quite the record runs that we've seen this past weekend out there.
Well, that's okay. Speaking of records, we move over across the pond to our friends in Puerto Rico, where Christian has his quick little recap from the third PalFiebru Cup. Did I say that right?
Yeah, correct.
Okay. Do you got your list of winners there that you can list off to us?
Now, this event has been pulled back like 4 times already. This event is supposed to have happened last year, so we kept on getting rained out. So we got rained out like 4 times last year until they just the last time they tried to run it, and it was so bad that when the Turbo Street guys launched, they didn't go nowhere. So they just gave up on the idea, and they moved it to this weekend, and hopefully everything went fine. We had a little bit of scare because it was raining on the other part of the island, but never went south, so they were good on that. Me, I wasn't able to go because I'm not in Puerto Rico, but try to stay on the hang of things. And We got the double A class, AA, obviously Hulk, 288 final with the wheels up. What you think about that?
Dude, yeah, I'm 300 foot, 295 foot wheelie, running a 288. Sets a new B Pro modified record here with World Sand Drag News. So that is big. That's huge. Second place though. Did you have something, Damian?
I was just listening.
Oh, okay. Second place, El Mudo.
El Mudo.
Yeah, talk about El Mudo a little bit, Christian.
Ain't that thing a little bit of something, huh? It's like stock chassis length Samurai, 80 inches, Nissan turbo engine. I think it's just ripper. It's just a ripper.
And
Like,
the final number on it, Damian said earlier, 347 on 80-inch wheelbase car. Stock. Oh my God. 4-wheel drive too, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Four-wheel drive.
And it took our C Sport Modified and C Sport Modified 4-wheel drive records for WSDN. So El Mudo now has 2 world records just from.
And it was running constantly 350s all weekend. So it wasn't like a lucky pass.
From what I've been seeing, they started in the 360s and just kept working their way down.
Yeah.
Is that got a wheelie bar? Wheelie bar or no?
Yeah, it does.
Yes, it has a wheelie bar.
It's an incredible number on 80-inch wheelbase. I mean, that's.
And it was A to B every pass.
Yes, that thing is tuned by Alejandro, actually the driver of the Hope. So funny thing, out of the 4 finalists, 3 of them were tuned by him. So it is easy to say the guy know what he's doing. Good dude.
Definitely.
If the panel is able to look at our group chat right now, I just reshared the video of that thing launching off the line, and it is freaking gnarly. If you're using your phones, I'm pretty sure you can check it and still be in the Zoom.
Who drives that car? Who drives that car?
El Mudo drives that car. I don't know who is it.
To be honest, I don't know the owner itself. I don't know his name or nothing like that. I know he's been running for a minute, but I just don't know.
Let's see if I can find these time slips here again real quick.
Well, we'll kind of move on until Damian finds that stuff. Third place was Don Gino. What car was he running?
Don Genio, that's the 2JC Samurai. It's now silver. It used to be white.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
How did you say it? How did you say it?
Don Genio.
Don Genio. Wow, I totally got it wrong. Okay.
I've always thought it was Gino too.
Yeah. It's Spanish, bro.
Yeah. Fourth place was Tiza.
Yep. Another 2JC.
Another 2JZ. Okay. And then the next class was Turbo Street. I have a question. Can you explain to our listeners what Turbo Street is? So
it started as stock chassis length, but it still is. Samurais, they run from the street, they bring it to the track, and they can just have fun with them. Now, them things got crazy now, and it got to the point that the class is too fast for anything that is streetable, to be honest.
Oh.
Especially with those style of combinations.
Yeah, but that class is huge. It's like the biggest class we got in Puerto Rico. But you have to think about it. It's not everybody has big boy money and AA money for them fast cars. So you had a lot of people running Honda motors, Toyotas, the small 4-bangers, in a little bit more budget friendly to Samurais. And it's a huge class. It's all stick shift. There's a lot of there's some troopers, jeeps, things to the side, but mostly run by Samurais.
All right. Well, that sounds like a class. What the hell was that? That sounds like a class. That sounds like a favorite class to watch, in my opinion. I love that. I would totally go sign up to watch.
Gotta be wise.
I love that class.
Yeah, it's crazy. Whenever you go to the AA class, you're gonna see something fast. But when you go to see the Turbo Street class, you're gonna see something crazy out of them. It's fun.
You're gonna see a show.
Okay, real quick. First place, I'm gonna say these as good as I can. Christian, fix me if I mess them up. First place in Turbo Street was New Daniel.
Yeah, New
Okay.
Daniel.
New Daniel. And then second place, El Poco.
You good with that? Yeah.
Cool. Okay. Third place, Delivery.
Yeah.
And then fourth place, Choopy. Choopy.
Choopy.
Choopy. Okay. And then what is bracket A and what is bracket B? Are those just bracket racing classes?
So what happened is how I was saying that Turbo Street class got so crazy so fast that it kind of went away from what it originally was. So they made them two lower classes with if I'm not mistaken, it was a 5.0 index. So the slower guys can go ahead and have some fun.
Oh, okay. Sweet.
Mm.
Okay. Well, we had they had two bracket classes in the bracket A and bracket B. Bracket A, first place was Thais, something like that. Thais. I don't know. Okay, fine. And then second place, Blue Angel for bracket
Yeah.
A. Bracket
I
B.
know this one.
Bracket B was first place Trippy and second place A Vista.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, that was our quick recap of Puerto Rico. We're going to take a quick break here for the panel, and then we will be back with some Larry Wagner race stuff from John, and then we'll pester Ricky about what it's like being an ATV guy. This is Paddle Talk. We're back to Paddle Talk, but Ricky has a quick shout out.
Have you ever wanted a set of Hoosiers in your living room during the winter months to keep you occupied and to stare at for a good time? Get a hold of my people at Moore Racing. Paul Moore will get you set up with a set of these bad boys. I've been staring at them for 2 weeks straight.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Shout out to Paul. Does a lot of great things. Him teaming up with Turbo Chassis to do that giveaway is really cool too. So now we're going to go on into our little bit more discussion. Our friend John Sorg is still here with us, and he has some Larry Wagner Memorial Race information to disperse to us. So John, take it away.
Sure. Before we talk about the race itself, let's talk about the man, Larry Wagner. I mean, Ricky's going to jump in here with me. The man, the myth, the legend. I mean, he started off watching him during the hill climbs before we had the sand drag track. 1983, when the sand drags opened up, he was right there with us, firing it off. Man, just making epic passes. When Larry Wagner showed up somewhere, you were watching. Something was going to happen. The guy owned Apple Tree Automotive for 36 years. He sponsored my car, many cars from here to Jeff Mamer out in California. As far as something you guys may remember a little bit more of was the USA Nationals put on by Apple Tree Automotive. That went on for many years, starting off in the early 90s.
It was my very first race in Michigan was the USA Nationals. Just wanted to say
Awesome.
that.
Probably had a good time.
I did.
Awesome. Ricky, help me out here, buddy. What do you want to say?
I mean, Johnny, I mean, you were pretty in with that crowd, the Apple Tree, the Volkswagen crowd. As I was coming up, you're the era before me, and Larry's the era before that group of pioneers, like you said, the innovators, the trailblazers, the iconic guys from that era. Larry was at the forefront of that. He, as a young kid growing up, like you said, when you seen that any of those black cars with the orange letters, you knew that you were going to see something exciting. I have notoriously picked on Volkswagen guys because that hasn't always been my thing. But when I was growing up, no matter if you were a Volkswagen guy, an ATV guy, no matter what you liked, the Apple Tree Automotive you knew that. If you went to Silver Lake, you knew about Apple Tree Automotive. I mean, I don't know how to explain it besides if you traveled there to go to the dunes, if you traveled to Silver Lake to go racing in the 80s, 90s, to this day, Apple Tree has been a staple, Johnny. I mean, you know that better than anybody being around there your whole life. I mean, Larry is an innovator. He what was the he developed gosh, I wish I could remember. He developed like there's like a Larry Wagner not foundation, but there's a what was that? I read about it. Shoot.
Are you thinking the scholarship fund?
Yes, he did like the scholarship fund. I mean, the Wagner family is just one of the biggest, most iconic families of that area, the sand drag community in the last 30 years. I mean, tell us about the race, Johnny. What's going on? What do we got?
So what we got is August 2nd through the 4th. It should take place from the 2nd to 3rd, Friday and Saturday. It'll be a normal style program with the normal points classes, but we're also going to have top eliminator, and we're also going to have an all automotive 4-cylinder bracket race.
Okay.
So, yeah, how better to put something out there.
The V-Dub guys are going to be cheering.
Oh, you know this.
That place
You
better
know
be
this.
packed with Volkswagens, man. It has to be. It has to be.
Epic. I think the VW crowd is going to show up. We're going to have a car show going on there too. We're going to pick out about 5 to 10 cars that were Apple Tree basically inspired, whether it's sand or asphalt. Put them out in the crowd, let people check them out. And of course, we will have the iconic Larry Wagner mid-engine there on display.
Ooh, really?
That's awesome.
That's
awesome.
That will be interesting. That will be great.
Won
That
a
will
bunch
be
of
great.
hills.
What'd you say, Damian?
I mean, I said the one that had won the King of the Hill a bunch of times.
Absolutely. He's flipped on the hill. He's won it upside down. He's done quite a bit with that car. It's amazing it's still straight, really.
That could be said about a lot of cars we race with.
We'll have to have an episode with Chad Coker on sometime, hopefully.
Like I
Hopefully.
said, those black cars with that orange lettering, it's you knew about it. I don't know how to explain it. The cars spoke for themselves. You knew when the Apple Tree cars were running that something exciting to watch for sure.
Dude, I totally agree. And just for me growing up in the state of Kansas and not even being in Michigan to witness that, we used to get the Sand Times magazines, and there was another one. I can't remember the name of it, but I remember they had this whole article about West Michigan, and it had so many pictures of the cars racing down the track, and almost every third picture was an Apple Tree car. And it was so badass. It was so cool to see. I was a fan before I could even see the cars in person. And I'm unfortunate I never got to meet the man in person.
What's really cool about this event is Chad Coker, the current owner of Apple Tree Automotive, is the head sponsor of the event. So not only has he kept the business going, he's keeping the racing alive too. And that's really cool to see.
Shout out to Chad Coker.
Yeah, Chad's a good dude. He's been around for a long time.
4-cylinder VW guys, whatever, go out there to Apple Tree Automotive. The guy does a lot for the sport.
I got his catalog sitting. Up here. I'll do an interview for him here in a second.
We also have the first donation of $500 to the top eliminator purse, which I got the other day.
Okay.
And and I got another donation from Blue Thunder Motorsports in honor of Larry. So
awesome.
We're getting sponsor money coming in to keep the event going. And, we just posted it. So more information to come.
Top eliminator guys, go out there. Guaranteed $500 already.
Much more than just Bailey sponsoring. If you think of, the history of Jim and Larry competing and friendship and the whole nine, from that same crowd. Hey, Johnny, that's pretty cool. Of course, that's not surprising that Jim was one of the first ones to step up. they ran together for long time.
Yes, they did. Yes, and I expect more of these guys to jump on board. They're all excited to do it and put on a great event in Larry's name. You know, even the family is expected to come out for the event, so
Oh,
that'll be really
man.
special for them.
Man, shout out to this race that you guys are putting on for Larry Wagner. Shout out to everybody. Shout out to the man, myth, the legend, Larry Wagner. Man, it's just this talks like this get me excited, man. Like we've already had 2 races this year. It's racing season's here, boys. Let's go.
Turbo Volkswagens wouldn't be what they are today without guys like Larry. Larry was one of those
Okay.
guys, I mean, trailblazer, really. I mean, like to hear, growing up in Michigan, it was like the opposite of what you said, Billy. Like growing up in Michigan, kind of spoiled to watch that in person. But then when you hear about seeing them in the magazine, kind of like how I would see the West Coast crowd in the magazines and be like, wow, it'd be crazy to see, this person, and then they would come out here for the US Sand Nationals. So yeah, I am looking forward to that one, Johnny. I will have to put that on the schedule.
Please do.
All right. That's awesome. That's really awesome. Shout Larry Wagner. Great job, John. I don't really have any questions. Damian, do you have any questions for John?
No, really, most of what would have been a question they answered straight up on that.
Well, so what's the class list, Johnny? I'm sorry if I missed that. What is can we run bikes? Is it just car? What do we
No,
have
there's
here?
bikes. Bikes are there too. Same
Okay.
standard program as a point series
Okay.
race.
Yes, I remember now. Okay, so you added the top eliminator, which is one of the hottest classes around this area.
Absolutely.
Michigan, Indiana, Ohio, Kentucky.
Added
So,
$500.
and Jim Bailey with Blue Thunder coming up. Jimbo.
Oh, and before I forget, because I got a little sidetracked there, the payouts for this race, because of the sponsorship we already have, and the support of Silverback Off Road too, we will be doing 100% payout across the
that's
board,
huge.
every
Wow.
class. Any sponsor money is addition.
That's awesome. For those who are not familiar with sand drags and they hear that and they're like, well, that's usual stuff. It's really not, because sand drag tracks got to stay open somehow. We don't get as much business as our asphalt brothers and sisters do. And just for them to do that 100% payback for Silverback to helping out with that too. Shout Silverback Off Road. That's awesome. Shout to everybody involved for putting on that Larry Wagner race. That's huge. That is huge. Christian, do you have, give us your knowledge of Larry Wagner? I know you just have so much knowledge of this man that you probably just now heard about.
The first time I ever heard his name, so sorry about that.
Oh man. Well, that's okay. You are you're still learning, and that's why
I'm still very fresh, and being
You got-
outside of Puerto Rico, I haven't been on a racetrack in a minute, so I'm very, very, very fresh.
Well, yeah.
Don't worry, Christian. Billy can't even pronounce the names of the cars over your way, so don't worry. Don't feel bad
I
about
can't.
not knowing.
Man, I don't blame him for that. Some of them are tricky.
Well, let's move on here, and I got a quick ad read. I'm gonna do another ad read here for SM Engineering, where you can design, build, and test with Sam McCray. Sam McCray can help out with float fuel systems, dyno testing, fuel management, tune-ups, consulting, race pack, and data acquisition, wiring, and mechanical services. That is SM Engineering. Design, build, test. Sam McCray will get you right. Hit him up at promodsam@gmail or 740-361-0969. Once again, that's Sam McCray at SM Engineering, smengineeringllc.com. Now we are going to move on to the part of the show where Ricky is going to revert back to that ATV guy, and we're just going to ask him a whole bunch of questions of why the ATVs do the things they do. And before we do that, I want to give some context of why. Sometimes we'll go to these races and we'll see, I'll go to a PSDA race to cover it, and I've only been to 2. And they will pack down the lanes with their feet and like wipe underneath the wheelie bar and stuff like that. And it's just like, the car guys don't really do it, and they're really confused why the ATV guys do it. I mean, I'm from Missouri, and nobody from there does it, and they get kind of confused as to why people do it and stuff like that. So really, if does anybody want to go first, or I can go first unless somebody else wants to. Okay, John, you go 1st.
We're going after Ricky here, right?
Yes, we are.
Oh, absolutely.
Okay, go ahead.
How many revs does it take, Rick? And we're not
That all
meaning Rev Rick, but what does it take to clean one of these bikes out? I'm a little concerned.
Well, Johnny, that all depends on your tune-up. You know what I mean? Lean and mean, couple times. She's nice and rich. You got to give her a couple. You got to get it. Johnny, don't act like you weren't a jockey back in the day.
Oh,
I don't know if we're supposed to say that on air, Johnny, but you have thrown your leg over many of drag bikes in your day.
what?
I only cleaned it out twice.
Well, there you go.
I mean, there's two car
I
guys
don't
that
know if
knows
we'll find
Rev
any
3 or
pictures
4
of
times.
that, but I've been known to jump on a ATV.
If you put a Banshee in front of Johnny right now and told him to ride it, I'm almost positive he would still throw the helmet on and get after it.
I'd do it. In fact, I think I'm working a deal out with your sister to do a little trade-off for a pass pass.
Hey, the good old-fashioned trade-off is always a good time.
He's coming at
Absolutely.
the bracket quad class, Ricky.
What's that, Damian?
I said he's coming after you in them quad classes, ain't he?
Yeah, I don't want a bracket race against Johnny. I'll tell you that. I'll be the first one to tell you that.
Well, so
go ahead, Billy. What were you were saying that were the prima donnas of sand drags? Is that what you were saying?
no, that's not what I'm saying. John's question was, why do they clean it out so much at the starting line?
Well, all joking aside, that actually does have a lot to do with your tune-up. Different engine builders have a different way of doing things. There's the term there's a different way to skin the cat, and different people set up motors a different way. Sometimes I've seen people clear it out once, maybe twice, maybe not even clear it out at all, and they can still get away with it. And then there's other engine builders that they set their stuff up to need a bunch of fuel, and if you don't clear it, it won't leave the line. So I know that a lot of the crowd, they don't understand. They think that we're just revving it to rev it, but it truly if you don't clear it out if you're especially with a two-stroke, you have a process of getting the setup where you want it to be. So you start off at a certain point, usually really rich, because being really lean is usually a terrible time. But yeah, so the clean out is all based off of where your tune-up's at, as far as being like lean and rich, because if you're really lean, you clear it out too much, the throttle will hang up on an alcohol bike, as I'm sure all of us have seen before. So
I see. Damian, did you have something?
I mean, speaking on people revving it up on the quads, I'm not going to single out quads on that, because I know 4 or 5 racers in my area that'll just sit there and just flat foot it to the floor 5 or 6 times, just pulling into the beams. So it's not just a quads thing, it's everyone. Two-strokes are just more inherently have issues with it because they will foul out so quickly.
Yeah. So yeah, as much as some people now, don't get me wrong, there's some people out there that really like to hear their bike rev up, because they do it quite a bit.
So we need a shot clock on the quads too?
I personally don't like to. I honestly, in the ATV world, I loved the shot clock, Damian. Actually, some of the tracks, since we're on the topic of the clearing out and stuff, some people are taking so long to get ready that they're implementing a time. We did that in Gilbert last year. We had to start implementing a clock, and yeah, I love the idea. Not necessarily a problem in the car world, but in the ATV world, absolutely. I'll be the first one to tell you.
I got
I
a
mean-
question. I got a question for Ricky. I got a question about the stuff that bikes do at the starting line. Why do they wipe underneath the wheelie bar? I get the pack down dance because I've done it and I actually like doing it now. Why do they wipe underneath the wheelie bar?
So the main difference between, because I am an ATV guy, obviously I'm a diehard ATV guy, but I love every part of this sport. I'm a car guy as well. When I was growing up, I loved the cars. I still do. The difference is with the cars and the bikes is that we are so focused on power to weight. There's a select few people out there that are basically, in my opinion, Bert Van Bennekom is an ATV guy of the car world. I look at his car, he has done with his car what we do with the bikes. He has the car stripped down to the bare essentials. He has lightweight components everywhere. And I mean, it's for real. Am I wrong, Damian?
Damien's just eating
Oh,
this up right now.
I've seen that man look at an ignition coil for his car for a half hour, wondering if it's worth the 4 extra pounds it weighs.
That's an ATV guy at heart. That's what that is.
Yes, it is.
Listen, so
That's
to
insane.
answer your question though, Billy, we're focused on not pounds. We're down to the grams. You know, I'm not gonna lie to you. I have a scale where I weigh parts down to the gram, parts down to the ounce, because grams lead to ounces, ounces lead to pounds, pounds lead to ET in our world. So, and then that leads to the wheelie bar and stuff. We try to maximize the chance of having our best. Like when you've been to Gilbert, you've seen our World Series of bike racing, and when you go out to Louisiana, you go out there to lay down a personal best ET or try to break a world record, and every single pass you have is for a purpose. Like a test pass means everything. So now in Louisiana, we don't even have test and tune days. We're going to have we're going to go right into qualifying. So like I have to drive 16 hours down to Gilbert and have to be ready to go because we're going right into qualifying off the trailer because there's so many bikes there, and you know, everyone's out there trying to do the same thing. So I try not to get too upset because I'm out there trying to do the same thing. I'm out there trying to maximize, you know, every pass to try to be every little bit we can. You know, like you said earlier about that altered record, or one of the records was like 002 off, right? Where there's several world records in the bike world that are just a couple thousandths off. So that wheelie bar, the titanium chassis are super lightweight. You have, you know, twin cylinders making north of 200 horsepower in some applications nowadays. And power to weight ratio on some bikes out there is better than 1-to-1 or 1-to-1. And, you know, anyone who, you know, kind of focuses on that kind of stuff understands what that means. And these bikes are getting, you know, multiple bikes into the sub 3 second zone and getting close to it with a bunch, you know, so it does, you know, it's not everybody's cup of tea. But if it is your thing and you are in the bike, in the ATVs nowadays, our side of the sport is booming right now. 1,000 entries in Gilbert, Louisiana across the week, including, you know, test and tune. It was incredible. So, yeah, it definitely takes a long time, which is it's definitely the downfall. You got to grade the track a lot because you have super lightweight, high horsepower bikes, and you want to give everyone a fair shot on a good surface and keep it safe as well. So definitely takes longer than, you know, shuffling some cars through that, you know, you can get 6 passes off or something before a grade type of thing. So, you know, hopefully people understand what the point is there with all of the pre-pass preparation, all trying to just basically maximize the best possible you know, maximize your opportunity for the best possible pass.
Well, yeah, I mean, and you brought up how much time it takes with all the bikes and the one tractor, and it looks like Jeff is taking care of that and getting that second tractor in there. I did not know that they were getting rid of the test and tune days. That's huge. That's crazy. That's big.
So
That's
just
big.
to kind of put it in perspective, when you go to, because you've been there, there's, index racing, there's heads up classes based on engine size. And, the CC classes are to the point to where we're having 25 entries per class in Gilbert for those kind of classes. And then, we went to the final round in the 340 class last year. And this year it was even bigger. And I think it was like 43 entries in the 340 index class. So they're having to eliminate test and tune just to be able to finish. We already had to eliminate the bracket class. So because there was 65, 70 entries and we didn't even have time to get through that. So now Jeff is going the extra mile and he has 2 tractors, 2 machines, and hopefully that'll double the amount of track prep he's able to do per day. So that's pretty cool what he's doing. That's the spot down there. That's the place to be in October.
That extra tractor is going to be nice.
It's gonna be huge.
I was telling people last weekend in Indiana that I really, really wish cars could get on that. What they could do on that track. Man, I'm telling you that, I've seen Pat Goodale and some guys come down there and run in the 250s with low 250s without a problem, just kind of easily going into cars would fly down there. So that's just my rant for the podcast, is that hopefully someday we can get cars in Gilbert, Louisiana. Because
Cool.
I'll tell you one thing
That'd
about
be great, actually.
The guys from Puerto Rico are itching to get over here again, except they just need to make it worth their while. And so they can hit a couple races in a row, right? Within like a couple weeks of each other or a month or something like that. So I've talked to Caesar many times and I want to see those cars back, like the Hulk running a 288. I mean, I'd love to see that car match race some cars, run 295, just be on the soil over here doing what they do. Since we're on the ATV topic, the Puerto Ricans have really made a splash on our side of the sport. And
for sure, they've ruffled some feathers while they've done it.
You can see what they're doing with the cars as well. They got some fast cars coming out, those Samurais like we were talking earlier. One thing I've learned about people from Puerto Rico is if it has a motor, they can make it fast. It doesn't matter if it has to be on street tires, knobby tires, paddle tires, limited wheelbase. If it's got to have a stock frame, Puerto Ricans can make it fast if it has an engine on it. It doesn't matter what it is. I've learned that.
You got that right.
They spend the money on it, that's for sure.
Well, they do a great job. You got to tune it too. Whatever you spend money on, you got to be smart enough to tune that thing and make it go down the track efficiently and fast. So, I mean, it's not just about money. It's about you have knowledge too.
One thing about the Puerto Ricans also to touch on that is that in the bike world, there's kind of a core group of people that are really, really dedicated to compete at the highest possible level. And some of those car guys in Puerto Rico are the same way. The guy with the Hulk, the Marshall car, those different cars that came over here before.
Yeah.
Freddie Marshall.
Very, very smart, very dedicated. They're going 380. I think the record's a 380 something, if I'm not mistaken, with that Samurai. I mean, that's incredible. And what they have in the ATV world, that's the equivalent of that turbo street class is called full plastic. You can't run a wheelie bar, and you have to run a certain tire. It's a Cheetah L7. It's basically the drag radial tire of the ATV world. And these bikes from Puerto Rico are some of the most impressive, fastest. I mean, they incredible riders and drivers and tuners and mechanics and dedicated teams. And the Puerto Ricans have invaded Gilbert, Louisiana, and doubled their people they have doubled the event in size. There's no doubt about it.
They've invaded so much that they now run full plastic at the PSDA. It's crazy. It's crazy.
And it's not, they don't just run it. It's one of the biggest classes.
And then every single one of them full plastic dudes get in the no bar class. It's great.
Yep.
It's great for everybody.
40 bikes in the no bar the last 2 years. It's very
That's big for PSDA. That's huge.
The ATV stuff is hot right now. And if it's your thing, it's definitely strap in for the ride, because I think we're going through kind of like a really, really good time in the sport right now as far as the ATVs. And I'm excited to see what this year has to bring, for sure.
Well, thank you for that insight, Ricky, that you just
Dome
gave
Valley
all of
coming
us.
up, the PSDA race. Dome Valley.
Are you going? Are you going?
No, I had to pull out last minute. I'm not going to be able to make the trip. It's very hard being ready by February for a Michigan
Is
guy.
going? Is Dashball going? Is Dan?
Yep, there's definitely some people going. Eric and Nick Bennett and a few of them guys are going out there. Nice. And they're bringing 4-cylinder laydown and weight bikes and CC bikes. They're bringing a nitrous bike. They got all kinds of stuff. So awesome. always a group of Michigan people going to every ATV race. You know that.
That's great. That is great. Well, everybody going out to Dome Valley for the PSDA race. Travel safe. Hoping to get Esteban on the show before that race happens, so we can talk to the Dome Valley promoter and son of the track owner and get his 2 cents about how the track's doing. I think Dome is one of the hottest up and coming tracks, but we'll save that conversation for later. We're not going to get lost in all that. We're going to take a quick break, and we're actually going to cut it over to Caleb did a quick interview with Nick Shultzman after he grabbed his world record over the weekend. And then after that, we'll cut it over to me and Dave actually did an interview with National Juinor Dirt Drags founder Thomas Armstrong. And we'll cut it to those interviews real quick. And then we will be back with everybody's one thing. This is Paddle Talk. Okay, welcome back to Paddle Talk. We are with Paddle Talk's very first guest, very special guest. He is Thomas Armstrong, National Juinor Dirt Drags, Armstrong ATV Racing. Very happy to have you on the show. Very first ever guest. First of all, that's what I want to do is congratulate you for being the first ever guest here on our podcast, Paddle Talk. We are joined with, alongside Thomas Armstrong, we have Dave Applegate. As you know, Dave and Thomas are partnering up to have National Juinor Dirt Drags and Southern Power Sports Dirt Drag Racing Series together at their kids' classes. So that'd be really cool. But let's go ahead and dive right on into it. Thomas, not a lot of people may not know who you are, but a lot of people know what you do. So could you please give us a little introduction about yourself and tell us how National Juinor Dirt Drags got started?
Yeah, absolutely. I appreciate you for letting us come on the show and explain to everybody what we do. Live in Virginia. Most of the time we go to Newtown Dragway. We haven't missed a race in 3 years. We've gone to every race at Newtown for the past 3 years. We run mainly the kids class with my kids running. So, if you're on the East Coast, you've probably seen us somewhere along the line. So, I appreciate it, everybody, for, tuning in and everything like that.
So tell us about National Juinor Dirt Drags and what gave you the idea to even start it for the kids.
Yep. Well, we Started National Juinor Dirt Drags after Armstrong ATV racing. Like I said, we started out going to Newtown. The very first race, it was just me and my son. We went there, just on a whim to have fun, and he actually ended up winning the class. He won first place. Thought it was, real fun. He wanted to go back. My daughters seemed to like it. They wanted to say, hey, we wanted to try. So 2 months later, we went back. We had a couple more four-wheelers, and my two daughters took first and second place. And then, we just kind of kept going back after that. We started out real slow with them because this was our first year racing. So we wanted to keep track of where they were in their times and how they were progressing in their speeds and everything. And it started posting, made our own page, the Armstrong ATV Racing on Facebook. You found us, you started some conversations. We, met in the comment section, say, hey, that's pretty cool. I like your dragster. And, we started basically exchanging information about how our tracks worked, what kind of kids run at Thunder Valley, things like that. So we just kind of bench racing back and forth about times and numbers and kids. And, and then we eventually got into, keeping a posted list on our page. And it seemed to get some attention. And I was like, man, this is, more than a couple kids. Maybe we should actually expand into something else, because we hadn't seen any type of page or anything dedicated to the kids' classes or the juniors or anything of that nature. We just felt that there was a void there in that area for the kids. And, some of these tracks, yes, they posted pictures of the winners, but there wasn't times, there wasn't, any videos really attached to it. So we just thought there was a lot of, maybe media area that may have been missing at some of these tracks, and, why some people may have been missing out, not knowing that, kids actually do this and that they can get out there and have fun and win trophies just like mine did. And, we're not on anything fast. Everything's, real cheap, budget races for life. And we just, started out slow, and we're slowly building up. So, I mean, it's fun. It's for the family. My kids love it. And they love to come in there and say hi to everybody. So if I could get a second, let them come in and say hi.
Well, you do a great job with what you do, but yeah, bring your kids on. I would love to meet them kids because they have great rides. The Blazin, the one who drives the yellow car, right?
Yes, the junior dragster.
The junior dragster, right? And then
that one's kind of famous now. It's been up and down the East Coast a little bit. He's won a lot of races in it, and he's a really good driver. So that one, when you see that one show up at the track, a lot of people get nervous about it. Right. But this is my daughter, Brooklyn Armstrong. She races our other junior dragster, the purple one. Some of y'all may have seen that one.
Hi, Brooklyn.
Hi, Brooklyn.
Right,
I like your dragster.
Thank you.
Yep, that's just we keep it cheap, budget on a friendly budget. We got engines at Harbor Freight. They're stage ones only. They're gas. They still have the governors on them. And to be honest, my kids can't even press the gas pedal down all the way. So I mean, there's still plenty of speed and room for them to grow and increase also.
Yeah, because we were kind of chasing the same record almost. Well, you're not us because we're too old, but Caden, my son, and your kids and the dragsters, they were kind of battling for that same junior dragster 212cc record,
And it's like I said, we try to keep all the classes is not combined, but is not as complicated as possible. We wanted everything to be real simple. We kept it to pretty much mainly 3 types of classes. You got your stock type class where it's, kind of bolt-ons, whether you got air filter or maybe a slip-on pipe or something. Stock wheelbase, full plastics, just the basic run-of-the-mill full wheels you bring out there. And then we have our modified classes, which are, that can be modified anything, from 4-wheelers to ATVs. And it could be naked frame, bikes, anything you want to in that type of class. And then we have 2 big classes that we run, which get a lot of attention, which are our 2 unlimited outlaw tire classes, which one is for dirt tires and the other one is for a paddled style tire. And those seem to be a lot of popular, and a lot of kids like to go after those two records at each track.
I was going to ask about that. Why make classes separated by tires for the kids?
My first initial thought was just split it up, have two classes. Why not? And then if you want to get real technical about it, I'm not the one to talk to about it, but some people say paddles are faster than dirt tires, and depending on what you run, that may be, but also having two classes, you could possibly set two records. If you have a set of paddle tires, you want to take it the next time out, so some knobbies on it, that's a chance to get another record also.
For sure.
And
Yeah,
that
I
I
totally
think
agree.
that depends on the track. If it's a hard pack track, the regular off-road tire will do better than a paddle.
Oh,
Here's
for
one of my
sure.
daughters, my other daughter,
Oh,
Laylee.
hello there.
How you
was your-
doing?
Good.
What was your
Was you
name?
hunting or something today?
Her name is Laylee.
Laylee?
Looks like she was hunting. She's got
I can't even see
camo.
her. I just see a floating head, so I don't even know. Nice meeting you.
Okay. Yep.
Tell your
And then we
friends
got-
about Paddle Talk.
Yep. We got the man, the myth, the legend right here. The little all-star, Blazing Armstrong.
Blazing. How does it feel racing in a junior dragster?
I don't know. When I race, it's always shaky.
What do you mean it's always shaky? Like
There's a lot of bumps on the track.
well, I mean it's
It
sand.
bounces a lot.
It's sand drags. Not everything's gonna be perfect.
Yeah,
And
that's-
but
that's
you got a good coach right next to you though. So what is your fastest pass? Do you know your fastest pass in sand drags? Can you say the number?
Was it like 790?
I think it was a 780 something at Lumber River. I mean, not Lumber River, Greens. And
Okay.
for everybody out there, Greens is a fast track. I'm gonna go ahead and tell you, our junior dragster is one of the most consistent vehicles I've seen in the past 3 years. I mean, we run, on the number, a lot of the time, and then we take it to Greens, and without touching anything, sevens. And, so all I can say is it's fast. We didn't touch a thing. Our car is super consistent. He went out there and it's fast. We got down the track. He did pretty good out there.
He takes care of business, it sounds like. What's your reaction times like, Blazing?
Really, they're always like 0.200 and underneath that. Like they're always underneath that.
0.200.
200 better.
You gotta knock that. You gotta knock 2/10 off that, man. You can just keep it, the 0.02 or no. I'm just kidding, man. I can't.
No, he's on there. He's consistently in the I'd say 1.5 and below. The last time he was racing, he cut a 00 light to go to the semifinals, and then in the finals, he cut a 0.10 light versus another kid who ran an 885 on a 685 on a 680, I think. And so Blazing treated him on the light and got to the other end first and was able to win the juniors class for the last race in Newtown last year. So he won it on the light.
Oh,
So for anybody out there, get your kids involved, get to the testing tunes, let them make as many passes as possible, because practice is how you're going to get them there.
for sure. Yes, practice makes perfect. Just for like
Where's Cam?
everything else. Nice meeting you, Blazing.
What's up? All right, go.
All right. Let's move on just a little bit here. There was something with ages, Thomas. I wanted to ask you about that. If I remember right, there was an age thing there that we need to talk about. And I've got to agree with you. If it wasn't for Billy Teeters, me and you would have never met. Because Billy told me that you were coming, and I didn't. Honestly, I'm like, who? Okay, I didn't know. I had no idea. I'm like, all right, and I didn't know. And then once you came over to the trailer and seen me, I'm like, that's what Billy was talking about. So if it wasn't for Billy, we wouldn't be doing this right now. That's pretty awesome. So I appreciate it, Billy, for getting us together. Thank you, buddy.
Well,
But
you're welcome.
yeah, what's the age group again? Just so everyone knows on your races there.
Yep. So one of the reasons why we started this was because, all my children right now are 13 and under. And like I said, we looked around trying to keep, find if there was anybody that was willing to keep, a kid's record for a junior dragster, just for fun, just for entertainment. We couldn't really find anybody. They said most of the time there was an age limit. I think most of them, the age limit is 16, some of them 15. And I just thought, man, 3 years is a long time to wait just to, have some fun and set some records. So I was like, why not keep our own? So we set the limit kind of at 16, where we thought the cutoff was for some of these juniors to actually graduate into some of these classes and organizations that were eligible to have official records. So, we're kind of just, we're trying to be a stepping stone for the younger kids who want to move up into some of these, record organizations and have, maybe families that own their own power sports companies and stuff like that. And, of course, you want your kids to, ride your equipment. So we just thought this would kind of help, set a platform and gain some, popularity for the kids' classes. Because a lot of times they're, when we first started, like I've told people before, we kind of felt like kids' classes were in the way. There wasn't, it wasn't popular. There wasn't, anything booming about it. It wasn't highly promoted. And I had 4 kids, 4 kids we take to the track. A 5th one we're going to try to add this year. So we couldn't find anything under the age of 16 that would do anything along the lines of what we wanted. So that's kind of where we put the cap at. So anybody 16 years or younger, can set and hold a record with us and, get their feet wet in the sport and practice, chasing a goal, setting it, having dreams and aspirations and, making it a stepstone to be able to get some of these other records in this, the real organizations.
Well, that's good. Let me ask you this. How many kids right now that you're aware of have turned in their ET slips or are following you and you've got a group, how many kids do you think you got in there right now? Just a guess.
Started taking time slips officially at the start of 2023. As of January 1st, we printed out digital certificates for the kids whose records still stood at the end of the year. And we ended up having over 40 children who participated with us individually, sent us their time slips. So we was, I may have missed 1 or 2 names as I was counting, but there's definitely over 40 kids who came out and set records with us and turned their time slips in. And along with that, of those 40 plus kids, they were able to set 100 plus records with us. And those records, range from the 3-second range to some of our fastest juniors that we found throughout the nation. And my son Camden, he actually set our slowest time with a 15-second. So we have 3-second range all the way to 15-second range. And they're, we keep track of them all, no matter what you ride, whether it's a dirt bike, motorcycle, go-kart, 4-wheeler, ATV. If you want to take a lawnmower out there, it doesn't matter. We don't care. If you want to go out there and go down the strip and have fun, if we don't have a class, we'll make a class for you.
Well, that's good. We're going to get into those records with Billy here shortly because I believe Billy may have a little bit more insight on that than I do at this point in time. But I do got one more question for you. Where do you see the National Juinor Dirt Drags going? What is your goal? Like, is this something you want to see grow? How big do you want it to go? Obviously, we've already seen that you have had some kids out at Dome, which is it Pena? Is that right? I think it's
yes,
Pena.
Pena
so you
Racing.
are in Virginia, and you already got kids in Arizona that are turning in time slips. That's pretty wild. So where do you want this to go, and how big would you like to see this get?
Great question.
Honestly, there's no limit to how big this can grow. Like you said, we've had children. I mean, even further than Arizona, we've Avenal, Lake Elsinore. We've had time slips from the Pena family from them last year. So we're coast to coast. We are actually national. We have teams up in Michigan sending us time slips. So it's, it's growing big, but our end goal and what kind of we really want to do is to get with all the tracks, make kids dirt racing popular enough that, maybe they should have a kids day only event. Set out a day or a weekend and just kids only come out there and, not have all the big trucks and the loud trucks and, just kids day only, let them, no pressure. You can still have a race at the end, the evening or whatnot, but just, a less stressful environment, I feel, kids day only, some you can come out, maybe have, a bounce house for the kids, some face paintings, maybe, bring your RC cars out, let them play around on the track in the dirt. I mean, things along those lines. I think there's a market for it because, we've grown by ourselves and we, like I said, we've been able to reach coast to coast. So I think there's a market out there for this. And I think some of the tracks, don't properly promote the kids class maybe as much as they should. And, that's really what we're trying to change is just put the spotlight back on the kids and make it fun for everybody.
Well, the good thing is, if those that don't know, Thomas worked with the Fowlers over there at Greens. So you got something going on over there. And then, of course, me and you hooked up, thanks to Billy. And now we've got 6 other races for you guys. So matched up together, it's going to be a good thing. Here's my thing, or my outlook on this. I hope that other promoters like myself and other tracks will hit you up and say, hey man, I like it. We're out here and we're having this event here, or another promoter says, hey, I got 3, 4, 5 races, whatever. Can we hook up together? So that's what I want to see, because I'll be honest with you, if we don't get these kids involved in another 10, 15 years, when all of us are too old to do this, it ain't going to happen. So we need to get them in. So I think what you're doing is great. I'm going to turn it over to Billy because I believe Billy might want to get a little bit more in depth on how you do your records. But I'm tickled to death that we are together, and we will do the best we can for the kids and keep it rolling. So Billy, I believe you have something that you wanted to say about the records, if I remember correctly.
Well, first off, I agree with what Dave was saying. I think it's great what you're doing, giving the kids something to look forward to. Not even if they don't get that national record, they can still get their own track record too, which is still quite the honor. It's nothing to be ashamed of or not, you don't want to knock it down or anything. So,
to touch on how Dave and I came together before we get into the records, because that's a little bit more in depth. And if you want to hear numbers, we have some. Sure. But like I said, we normally race in Newtown. Started keeping records personally for ourselves mainly. Other parents and racers wanted to join in also. So we started at Newtown, real small, just basically us. Like I said, I'm normally on the sideline. I don't really, I'm not too outgoing. And then, it started growing. It was like, we need to expand, what other tracks are out there? So we started, building the list of what tracks are out there all the way from, Avenel and Lake Elsinore and Dome Valley and Thunder Valley and just all of it. I made a personal list of, hey, these are all the tracks that have kid races, things we may want to go to. And so on the East Coast, the tracks closest to us are Newtown Dragway, Greens Raceway, and then Lumber River. So the last 3 races of our race season last year, we went to Newtown, and then we went to Greens, and then we went to Lumber River. And we wanted to see if maybe it was possible about setting up some type of point series, some type of kids, something for the kids to involve all 3 tracks. And that's where I met Dave through you. And just happened to be that Dave was saying the same thing. Hey, I want to put on, some events at the East Coast, name some tracks. And I was like, hey, that's funny. I just came from Greens. I just came from Newtown. I'm here now. Definitely, Little Sandy invited us to come up there and do some things with them. So our goal was to just kind of have like maybe one day, maybe a small little 3 race series locally to us, but now joining in with Speeders and Dave, we're able to expand and go to these 6 different races and 5 different tracks, further than what I was personally able to do ourselves with National Juinor Dirt Drags. Now we have Dave and Speeders on board to help us stretch even further than what our initial dreams were of having maybe just 3 tracks locally. Now it's a lot further.
Well, yeah, and then you get to
I
show.
love the fact that everybody's calling it speeders because I didn't think of it. Billy, he mentioned it. You've mentioned it. My buddy Steven Hacker mentioned it. I'm like, what do you guys mean speeders? Then I read the initials. SPDRS. I got it. So I'm getting a kick out of it every time somebody
it's
says
nice. It's catchy.
It's so much easier to say. It's 2
It
syllables.
is, yeah.
So I mean, I had a thought and it ran away, but it's okay. We'll get back to it. But I just want to talk about your records real quick here, and I'm looking at the list here for that you have on National Juinor Dirt Drags Facebook page. If you're not following him, go on there and do so. He's got all the classes listed on there, and I remember you were messaging me one time asking about the go-karts being split up from the junior dragsters and stuff like that, and just a lot of insight. I mean, we talked a lot about how some of these classes will be structured. Not
Yeah,
all of them.
we built a lot of this. Well, I built a lot of this back and forth with you and your, knowledge of what goes on at how your tracks or other tracks you've been and worked and how they divide classes, whether it's age or by vehicle and stuff. So that's we just took what we thought the best of everything was and just built something that was pretty simple for everybody to follow along with.
Yeah, I think your ATV classes are pretty cut and dry. Able for anybody just to reach it, get in there and grab a record, really, because
yeah, because I mean, like I said, this is like you mentioned on one of the last shows. It's the honor system. I'm not out in California able to do fuel checks or this or that or weight limit. We can't. It's all for fun. It's all for the kids, and that's another part of the reason why we decided to reset the records every single year. If there was any discrepancy from anybody about one record at this track or another track, so what? It's only going to stand for a year. It throws out the window unless it's, a national record. But in those cases, we do a little bit more in depth into the national records. We want to see videos. We want, we'll talk to some people there. Hey, was this legit? And, they'll let us know. So it's definitely cool to see. And a lot of people are excited about what we're doing.
Well, me and Billy's already talked. We're going to shave our beards and mustache. And you guys will never know. We're going to jump on one so we can have one of your records.
Yep.
Yeah, you'll never.
I did want to ask about the Fast Five and what idea gave you to highlight the Fast Five is what you call it. And please tell our listeners what the Fast Five is, if you would.
We have a Fast Five list, and mainly it's 5 categories of what we have typically seen out at the racetracks. We have go-karts, 4-wheelers, ATVs, dirt bikes, and side-by-sides. So this year we decided to include, because we had a couple of mini bikes, and as you know, Cole Ballard and shout out Shocker Race Team, they took a street bike out there, and we didn't have a class for that, and we didn't really know how to fit that in. So we just decided that this year we were going to combine the dirt bike, mini bike, motorcycle all into one class. So the fastest one out of each of those 1 categories will combine into our Fast Five list. And it's just, it's just something fun we thought to, help kind of keep track of things. People kind of want to know what's what. And like, so we have a list of records and stuff, but other, a lot of people want to know, want more information. They want to see more lists. They want to see the names on more stuff. So, we decided to come up with a couple lists, and one of the new lists we're having this year is our national ET list that was also posted. And, we're going to keep track of every ET number. If you turn it in, we'll put it on the board from, the fastest one to the slowest one. Everybody will have the name on there, and it's just not so much a leaderboard. It's just, just to put it out there. People just want to know, what are the numbers? What are the ranges? What are these kids doing?
Well, that's really cool. You're going to highlight these kids on each of these classes, and so they can see, a kid in Arizona can see what a kid in Virginia is running on.
Absolutely.
In the same class. It's going to be pretty cool, and might even give some more motivation to the competition of record chasing between the two.
Yeah, and I want to say a lot of it is really record chasing. I think we've only had maybe 2 people that have actually, chased the record. And that, I believe was
Cole
the
Ballard's a record chaser all
Racing.
day.
I mean, they built a home built, which, as you know, they built a home built go-kart in their shop. They went out there, they purchased parts, they built it. And it costs money to do that. So businesses out there, profited from, somebody wanting to go and expand and do what we're doing. So, it's helping out a lot more ways than one. When we first started, like I said, that some of our classes were really, really small. Something to highlight real quick was that at the end of the year, after we've been doing this at Newtown Dragway, I think we had 16 Pee-wees in the last race. And that's the most that they've had there from what I've told in like the past 10 years. So we'd like to think that we're helping out, getting more kids involved, more kids want to do it. And we've actually seen an increase, at some of these tracks we've been going to by getting some of this info out there and say, hey, it doesn't matter, if you're slow or if you're fast, we got a place and something for you. Because, they only give out first and second, sometimes third at most tracks. And, there's more kids than that. So, if you go there and you do one and done, it's a little disappointing. So this gives the kid the opportunity, fast kids, slower kids, to still accomplish something when they go to the track, not, oh, we lost and go home, but you still have something. So, you can, print out our graphic that we give you. We'll, write you up your article and give you your spotlight and your time and the fame when, nobody else would.
Yeah. Just shouting out them kids who have, the guts to just put in their time or just reach out to you, really. Well, even their parents do this, will just do it as well. And you said you don't think there's that many record chasers out there. Cole Ballard's a record chaser. I'll tell you that right now. I mean, the kid, love the kid to death, but
I wouldn't say record chaser as far as numbers, but now as far as number of records, I would say so. And that's another list we have is our all-time number of records. And I'll be proud to say that, Mason Newman and my son Blazin Armstrong are at the top of that list. Last year, they, set 9 class records apiece. They went to, 3 different tracks. And we got a couple other kids, the Pena family. I mean, they're doing awesome. They travel, all the West Coast. And their kids' names are up there, Dominic and Aubrey. I mean, they're awesome. Their grandma is awesome. They send me all kinds of content and updates and everything about them. And, this community is really awesome, and they've helped everybody, grow. And it's just getting to know them. I've heard the names, all the big names. I've heard the names, but I was never really involved with them because we were just doing kid stuff. And now, I'm getting in contact and having touch with people that I wouldn't normally have or, had the ability to do, like you and Dave, without doing this. So I think it's a, good thing for everybody. I think we're bringing up the kids class in the right way. And, if we don't get the kids involved, then, we can't race forever. So somebody's got to do it after us.
Yeah, I totally agree. I loved every point that you made here. I love our conversation that we had. It's been great having you on so far. We're going to kind of get close to wrapping this up here. I'm going to ask you for your one thing. Thomas's one thing is brought to you by SM Engineering, design, build, test, flow fuel systems, dyno testing, fuel management, tune-ups, consulting, race pack and data acquisitions, wiring and mechanical services. That's SM Engineering, design, build, test. Sam McCray will get you right. smengineeringllc.com, smengineeringllc.com, 740-361-0969. Thomas, tell us your one thing, please.
My one thing would be to thank each and every one of the parents that took the time to find us and send us their time slips, and also to sign that waiver to let their kid race, because without them, we wouldn't have much to go on. And those parents are out there. And every time you send me a time slip, they or message me, I have very, very one-on-one conversations, as I've had with you, with each one. And we go in depth on, your child's age, their experience, what they drive, what are their goals, just just a lot of things. And, you know, it's becoming such a close community that I feel really close with a lot of these parents, and just want to thank them for how awesome they've been. You know, anytime I've needed to ask for pictures or photos or anything, they're right on top of it. They're spreading the word. They're helping us. They're sharing. And they're doing it the right way in every way, including safety. I mean, these parents, they show and are doing that. Their kids are in full gear. I mean, they're meeting more than what most of these tracks requirements are. You know, neck braces, full helmets, gloves, goggles, full boots, you know, chest protect, everything. So the parents that I've been involved with have been absolutely awesome. I couldn't thank them more enough for their love and their support. And thanks to you, and thanks to Dave for you know, for getting us together and being able to do this. So that's my one thing, just being thankful and appreciative for this race community and what we're trying to build here.
Well, that is a great one thing. Shout out to all the parents who are teaching their kids the sport of sand drag racing, because without these kids getting in the sport, we won't have a future in the sport. So, Thomas, thank you for coming on. We really appreciate your time.
No problem. I'm glad to be here. I'm glad to, you know, not a lot of people have seen the face behind the scenes. You know, I've talked to a lot of y'all one-on-one. So here, you know, here's your opportunity to, you know, get a little bit more to know about me. And if you don't know me or heard about us, then, you know, here's your chance to, you know, listen or watch the videos and, you know, maybe find out, maybe you like it, maybe it's something you don't, you know, but hopefully, you know, just come out and try. You know, that's all you can do is just come out and try it, see if you like it or not.
Exactly. All you got to do is try it. Find National Juinor Dirt Drags on Facebook. Find Armstrong ATV Racing on Facebook as well. You can keep up to date with everything that they are doing on both ends of that. Thomas does a very good job of teaching his kids how to race and how to win. And he does a great job with National Juinor Dirt Drags and giving every kid the time of day, giving a little bit of spotlight, giving them their article. So thank you, Thomas, once again for being on the podcast with us.
Absolutely. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Thomas.
All right, we're here with Nick Shultzman, our new top alcohol altered world record holder on the ET and mile an hour side here in the Blue Bayou altered. Nick, you went out and in the qualifying ran a 2:65.9. That was the quickest altered pass in the history of the sport. Then you went to go and try to back that up in the third qualifying session. And what happened?
Made a good pass and got no time. We had a reaction time, but no 60 foot and no ET.
So something messed up with the clocks. Didn't get any time, no data on that pass.
No data.
Knew that you actually were ahead of Chris Miner on that pass. And Chris ran like a 275 or something.
Ran 272 and we beat him. And we had a bad light, so I mean he treated us, and we still. So I mean I know then it was probably a mid 62.
So we were looking at that and saying, man, wish you had the time on there. You guys went into eliminations for top alcohol, and you went out and set the record straight and ran a 2:67 with a 6. That backed up your 2:65.9 from earlier, and had plenty of room as well. We were looking at the time on that. You could run as slow as a 68.5.
Yeah.
So you had a pretty good
So
margin.
it feels like a lot of room, but it's really tight actually when you're trying to, you know, work the track, especially with the way this track was.
Well, and especially with how fast you're going. That
Exactly.
that 1% becomes smaller and smaller the quicker you go.
The quicker you go, yeah. It's big. It's a small, very small window.
And then tell us, you went into the top alcohol final against the legend, Jim Hammond, April's Dream.
Yep.
Okay? You knew you had to step it up. You were trying for it.
Oh, yeah.
And what did you end up running?
We ran a 2:64.6.
64.5.
64.5.
See, he's already cut himself short here.
I'm already off.
So 64.5, and that ended up actually lowering the ET record. The 65.9 backed up the 64 with a 5.
Exactly.
So tell us a little bit about the journey to get here with the Blue Bayou machine, the step up progressively in engine packages, the people that have helped you along the way. Tell us a little bit about that roadmap.
Yeah, I started off real young, and then I was always racing quads and stuff, and then I've been around this car, at least the body part of it, since I was 9 years old. Been watching Hammond run, been watching this car, and then we decided back in 2019 after running a small block for so many years and just fighting it and really pushing it too hard that it was time to step up. And I got lucky enough to buy this car, and it had a Keith Black motor in it, and we ran that for a year or so, and I got an opportunity to work with the Plan B Motorsports and got a good deal on this engine, and the knowledge that Nick Janik has taught me and is just invaluable. I mean, he's really the reason that this car is doing what it's doing. I had the phone calls to him about tuning and what pills and teaching me the clutch and the motors, and I mean, going from a small block to this, it's just a completely different learning curve. So I'm very fortunate that I've had that in my life, and and now we're here with this motor, and it's been a great motor, and it's been challenging. We've had some issues with the car going straight, and a guy named Terry, who's a good friend of ours that's on the team, he does fabricating. He got me a weight bar made. He got the wheelie bar situation figured out, and ever since then, I mean, this car's pretty much been on rails. It's had some crooked passes, but that's altered life.
Yeah, that's short car problems.
That's short car problems. It's only 125 inch. I mean, it's a lot of power. Engine's far back. It's just. So, I mean, the lessons I've learned have been invaluable, and then having Shay, she's running the starter sometimes and squirting, and then I've got lucky enough to have your dad to come out there and run the starter and help her. So it's a huge group effort, and it takes a lot of people to make this work, and without that, I couldn't do it. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of blood, sweat, and tears, and a whole lot of work, so.
Absolutely, and finally that work's paid off. You've been chasing this record. The first time out with the big motor in this, you went out and ran that 69, set the world on fire, but couldn't get a backup pass for it.
Every pass we'd go out there and we'd set some sort of number and be under that 274, and then we just couldn't, the car would go crooked or we'd have a dumb issue. It's just like today, we had a starter go bad. I mean, in the first round of second round of Pro Mod. Like, luckily my girl was quick on that, and she swapped the starters out and we had a backup starter, but it's just like, man, it's just always something that's kind of kept me away from it, And that whole weekend when we first came out with this motor, we fought grid issues and it's shooting out cylinders, and then finally we figured out, this thing was leaving in high gear and it was doing this and that. And, luckily Nick spent a lot of time and he got it figured out, and then it went out and ran a 69 and bent the wheelie bar, and we didn't know that. And then, we went to the wall and we seen that wall a lot more than we liked, but it's just nature of the beast.
Yep, and finally, you've been taking this out both here at Elsinore. You've been out at Avenal with it.
Yep.
You went to Dome Valley.
Yep.
Set some great numbers at Dome Valley.
Yeah.
Didn't quite get the backup there either.
Nope.
Said you were going to come and turn around 2 weeks, and here we are at Lake Elsinore, able to finally get that record.
Finally,
how's it feel?
It feels great. I mean, it's taken a lot. It takes a lot more than people think to just get that 1/10 of a second, or you come off the trail and run an 81, and here was a challenge. I mean, you got a short shutdown. These guys worked their butts off trying to make this track to something that it actually came around to be, and it became an impressive track. Short shutdown, but as a driver, you need to adjust to the what's out there, and that's what we had to do. And luckily, the rain was probably the best thing that could have happened. So we'll regroup and we'll go to Dome after my girl has the baby, and we'll see what happens. Maybe we can lower it a little more, but I'm happy where I'm at.
Absolutely.
Now
you set the bar pretty high, so we'll see what the rest of these boys can do to chase that number now.
And I think it's a cool deal. I mean, Kyle and all them and Russ, they go out there and let's do it. Let's try to keep setting these records.
Absolutely. Well, thank you, Nick. Congratulations once again. 2.645 new top alcohol altered world record here with World Sand Drag News.
We're back with some more paddle talk. Hope you enjoyed those interviews with Nick Shultzman and Thomas Armstrong. I know the Thomas one was a lot longer than the Nick one, but still real good. Shout out to Nick Shultzman and shout out to Thomas Armstrong. But quick ad read before we get everybody's one thing with SM Engineering. It ain't going anywhere. He's got flowed fuel systems, dyno testing, fuel management, tune-ups, consulting, race pack and data acquisitions, wiring and mechanical services. That's SM Engineering. Design, build, test, Sam McCrary. Get you right. Design, build, test, Sam McCrary. SM Engineering LLC.com. Damian, what's your one thing?
It'd have to be just, again, like the first episode, all these records that keep falling and more of them looking to fall this coming year.
Yeah, this is already a big weekend for records. We saw 3 of them topple down. Well, actually 4. Actually 5.
If you want to really do the math, there's a lot there.
Almudo got 2 records. Nick Shultzman took home 2 records. Nick Shultzman took home top fuel altered and top alcohol altered, which is just crazy to think about. One thing I wanted to say about that top alcohol altered was that 5 years ago, Russ Bailey had it at 284. Nick Shultzman, 6 years later, has it with a 264. It's just insane. It's absolutely insane.
It's crazy. It's going to take a lot for Farwick's to get down there. They're close. They got to get it to where the car will 60 foot harder. But right now, their Farwick car is a lot more consistent than Schultz's car. So
yes,
we'll see how that.
For sure. And then the Hulk also getting the B Pro modified record as well.
I want to see them all on the same premises.
One day.
I want to see them all on the same premises.
One day.
Just
we're gonna get that Farwick versus Schultzman matchup hopefully in March. So
and we'll see how fast Trice can get down the track with that big nitrous motor.
If they have to let Trice run pro mod. They drove all that way. They have to let Trice run pro mod if they want to.
Farwick's it fits the rules that they're letting cars run pro mod.
That's true. That is true. Christian, what's your one thing?
That event was a long time coming. It went smooth. We only had one accident. I know we're notorious for the accidents.
That you guys are. Your drivers don't have enough quit in it.
That's a very good statistic, though, Christian. All laughing aside.
Yeah, if you're gonna go out with a bang, I guess.
Yeah. No, not that type of bang. A good bang, not a bad bang. But that's good. Only one accident. I didn't know there was an accident.
I don't know if. Wow, there you go. It was his Chesina. It was the black and red samurai for AA.
Yeah. What did he do? What did he do?
He launched it hard left. He chucked the wheels all the way to the right. Once the front end came down, it bounced and it just rolled over like 2 or 3 times. But if you see the video, there's a video with a good point of view, and the car looked very stiff. Like once the wheels came down, like the whole car bounced like twice. So I guess that's one of the reasons.
Don't turn the wheels.
If
the front wheels are on the ground, you shouldn't probably turn them.
Yeah, but the car looked very stiff. It bounced a couple times and then it flipped. So, but as soon as he settled down, the car it landed with all 4 wheels on the ground. As soon as it settled down, he lifted his hand and he told everybody he was okay. So that was a good thing.
Well, good deal. Glad Chesina is okay after his accident. Hopefully no more. But I think we know all what happened there. John, what's your one thing?
Sure. You guys talked about it a while back on a couple other episodes. Let's talk about safety. Guys out there wearing T-shirts, doing stuff like that. I'm living proof that safety gear works. Doing it for 30 years. I've been in 3 wrecks. You don't know when it's going to happen. Be ready. Always.
And the scenario's always different.
Yep. You just don't know when it's going to happen.
Always be prepared. Always be prepared.
Always be prepared.
Caden outgrew his fire suit already. That's why he hasn't been wearing it. But at least he's always wearing his pants and long sleeve shirt, except for that one day we forgot it. And there's pictures of that out there. So
don't post them.
Too late. Oh yes, that's a good thing. Safety first, always, because as Damian said, every scenario is different. As John said, you never know what could happen. That's a great one, John. Safety is always important. Ricky Thorpe, one thing.
I guess I'm going to capitalize on basically something I kind of started thinking about just listening to all of you guys. I appreciate you guys having me on. It's been fun, and kind of what I'm getting from everybody is that the sport's hot right now. Cars, bikes, anything, everything, West Coast. They've already been able to run a couple times out there. Records are falling. The bikes are about to start running the PSDA stuff, next month. And I think 2024 and Sand Drags is going to be one of the best years across the board for the whole entire sport in a long time. I think there's a lot going on, a lot of fast cars, a lot of impressive stuff, a lot of really dedicated people. Us sand drag racers are a big community, but in the grand scheme of things, a small community at the same time. And we just love doing this stuff. And I'm kind of, as a fan of the sport, I love it. Everyone seems to be pumped up. I'm excited about like the Larry Wagner race. That's awesome for, if you are a racer in Michigan from past, present, future, you need to be at that race. That's a big,
I
that's
agree.
that's an important. Larry was a pivotal person in Michigan sand drags, and yeah, I'm definitely gonna mark that one on the schedule. And I know that the whole sport is just rearing to go right now. A lot of people building stuff, and so I guess my one thing would just be that I am looking forward to as a follower of the sport. Every race that happens this year, I think some cool stuff is going to happen. So I'm looking forward to seeing how 2024 goes for everybody, no matter where you race, what you race, how you race, bracket, heads up, whatever, doesn't matter. I'm looking forward. Hopefully everyone has a safe year, like Johnny was saying, and I'm looking forward to it, man. It's exciting to be part of the sport right now.
Yes, it is. And really, a few years ago, I was kind of scared about the state of the sport. And then as right now, it kind of just like it's steadily growing. It's at a certain pace, but it's growing. And I'm just really excited about this year so far. May not do as much traveling as I'd like to, but I'll get to some races for sure. Yes, John.
Look at the side-by-side scene. I mean, 5 years ago, that was unheard of, and now that's just growing like crazy.
That's true.
And every time I turn around, there's events going on all over the country, that new tracks and stuff going on that are hosting them. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, no, I absolutely know nothing about that side-by-side world of our
So-
sport, but Dave and Caleb do.
That's what we have Dave for.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
That side by side stuff, it's kind of like a exact hybrid of the ATVs and the cars put it together. Let me tell you something. I don't know much about it, but I do know that a side by side going a 330 and a 340 is
It's
Epic.
is insane, because it's an exact it's a little car that they put titanium in car. It's like a bike car hybrid and with a turbocharger, and makes a bunch of horsepower. And they're incredible. I mean, they're who knows 3-4 years from now how fat will we see a side by side in the 290s? They're making
I would say eventually,
Yeah.
Oh man. I
but
don't know.
that's going to be one with a wheelie bar, because I don't see getting power delivery well enough to keep the nose down and run a 2.
I agree with Damian. There's you gotta have Willie Bar on that one that runs
Y'all
that
side
fast.
by
And,
side
they're very
guys,
short.
I love watching it, but y'all are crazy.
man, anybody in the side by side UTV, I know they call them cars, so sometimes people get confused when we say cars, but
I can
mainly
Car. They got a cage, they got doors.
Oh,
they got
it's a
yeah.
Oh, it's a car. It's
I
a
know.
race car.
But it's a car for sure. But I'm just saying, like, to differentiate like
Yep.
the cars and stuff, like cars. See, whenever I say cars, I'm talking about like dragsters and buggies and Aldards and stuff like that. Whenever I say side by side, that's what I'm thinking about. Like those kind of race cars is those side by sides. But whenever I say cars, I'm talking about like cars and stuff. But they also like Dave, he'll call like the cars, like dragsters and stuff. He'll call them full size, and then he'll call the side by sides and stuff like that.
That's some new age stuff I've never heard of, Billy. Full size and all that stuff. That right there, that's I call they're cars to me. I'll tell you what, I like all kinds of vehicles. I'll tell you what, man, they're full-fledged race cars, man. They got, some of those, that's a big money game there. In the
It
sand
is.
drag world, that's a big money, smaller group of people that man, those are high dollar. I went out to K&T shop and they had about 4 of them in there, and they're making big horsepower out of those
Oh
cars.
yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
I mean, they're running 2000. I mean, they're running, the same tire, Damian runs on his Jeep. They're running a 2000 as, I call it a 2000, Sand Tires Unlimited tire. I mean, it's, they're making a bunch of power.
Yeah, they're gonna yeah, it's changing the game for sure. And I love how this Ricky's one thing turned into the side by side.
Sorry about that.
It's all good. It is all good. So I'm just going to end the show here with my one thing. Well, actually, it's 2 things. First of all, tomorrow is Cody's birthday. So shout out to my big brother, Cody Teeters. It's his birthday tomorrow, January 31st. And we're recording this on Tuesday, January 30th. So when you guys listen to it, it will be February 1st. So we'll be 1 day past Cody's birthday. But my brother's birthday's tomorrow. So that's awesome.
Happy birthday, Cody.
Exactly. Thank you. My other thing, dang, I had it on my phone.
So 2 things is what you meant.
Well, yeah, the other thing I had, it was on my phone, but my phone just died on the worst timing possible. So I can't believe my phone just died, to be honest. I'm pissed off about that. I guess that's my other thing. My phone just died right before I gave my real one thing. That's it. Oh, you know what? Just because I looked at it myself, my other one thing, Kansas City's going to the Super Bowl. Let's go Chiefs. Okay, sorry. I just had to do that. No.
Really?
Yeah.
I mean,
Well,
he's all excited about a sport with one ball, so.
Yeah, you're right, Damian.
Actually, there's 3. But my real other thing, and I'll just kind of make one up here. Thunder Valley Sand Drags is kind of slow on the schedule release, but it went out there. Our big race weekend is on September 28th weekend, which is the weekend before that last race behind Damian there.
Let's do this.
Just scoot backwards, yeah.
Nope.
No.
Imagine he falls.
There it is. Say something, Damian.
I had to turn the lights off to get this to show up.
There it is. He popped up. Well, anyway, that race number 3 behind him is a big race for the Outlaw Series, the Outlaw Series finale. And then a few guys from that like to make the trip over to our track in Missouri, closer to the Kansas City side, to race in that race as well. So usually it's flip-flop. Usually it's Thunder Valley's final race and then the Outlaw finale. And this year it's switched. So
I'd love to see more of the Thunder Valley guys come out here and run at Brookville, because out of the last 2 years, the top eliminator class out here for the Outlaw Series, the King of the Outlaws, has been massive.
Yes, they have.
Brookville broke 20 plus cars.
Man, that 25 car field or whatever that was in Michigan blew my mind. That was insane.
Yeah, very exciting competitive field too when that happens around this way.
Yes, it is. And then like Damian was saying, 27 car field that was in Brookville, or would have been in Brookville if the rain didn't happen or whatever. So well, I think that's a show, boys. On behalf of John Sorg, Ricky Thorpe, Christian Acevedo, and Damian Bowers, I am Billy Teeters, and this is Paddle Talk. We'll see you guys next week. Thanks. Oh, hold on.